have feelings about it and how they would feel. Let's just take about 1 or 2 minutes in our class and discuss those two questions. Why did Americans like Manifest Destiny, and how did other cultures feel about it? And you begin. You ready for a whole class, Cheryl? Clap once if you hear me. Clap twice if you hear me. Snap 3 times. Thank you, everybody. Dulcie, could you start us out with an idea you had about why Americans like Manifest Destiny? And what can they do with that land, you were saying? Get more crops, which builds which of our historical factors? Class, having more crops. Would that be a social, economic, or political experiment?
Economic.
Very good, economic. That's an economic growth. And people want their economy to grow, right? And are they thinking about the other people who are there? No. Johnson, what did you want to add?
Some of us said about the land. We were also talking about how they migrate because with more land that they get, the more power they have.
Mm-hmm. So they're growing their power as they go coast to coast. Yeah, and so power, would that be social, economic, or political? Political, very good. Now, Juan, you mentioned that they wanted to spread the ideas of democracy, right? Does that show respect to the local cultures, Juan, if they think democracy should be spread?
No,
No. Why do you say that?
because they are forcing their beliefs on other people.
They're forcing their beliefs on other people, right? Maybe democracy isn't the system that everybody wants. Maybe we don't want to force that on others. We want them to choose it, right? So that's how the Americans felt, though. They felt spreading democracy was a good thing and would bring them power through economic growth, which is awesome. Can we identify what are the other cultures, maybe 2 main cultures, that would be put in conflict? Jocelyn A. Do you have one of the 2 cultures that was in conflict here? Native Americans, very good. Native Americans and Jocelyn. The Mexicans, right? Because they're right in the way of this Western expansion. Well, in the way, right? But they're right in the way of this Western expansion. So how do you guys think, I'm gonna call on someone random for this one. How do you guys think the Native Americans and the Mexicans, or the Latinos, as Ignacio said, how do you think that they felt about this? And Jamel? Does anyone want to build off that idea that they felt a little worried, Jasno?
That their beliefs were different because they were Catholics, so that's another reason that they didn't agree with it.
Where can someone pick that up? Where did that cause conflict? The conflict between Protestants and Catholics. Where was that a problem? Do you guys remember where we talked about that led to a revolution?
Yeah.
Europe, definitely, yeah. But where in North America? The last thing we studied? Texas. Texas. Did you say that, Andre? Texas, very good. It was Texas. So that's definitely picking up on a problem. There's this cultural conflict, right? And also this sense of like this tidal wave of light coming, like in the Western expansion picture that you have on your desk, right? This light is actually a tidal wave of force pushing them aside, as we noticed with the Native Americans who were being pushed aside. So, we want to look at this idea of Western expansion and pick up on specifically how it brought conflict with Latino cultures that Ignacio pointed out. We are going to look at the Mexican-American War today, and we're going to do that through some group reading activity. So I'm going to start out by handing this short reading, which don't worry when you see it, you're not going to have to read the entire thing. We're going to do this as a group. So if you could just take this and set it aside, and then I can keep giving directions as you're passing. So here's what we're going to do. One member of your group is going to read aloud the section that you get assigned. So that way you're all reading at the same pace. So before anything else happens, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to choose which member of your group is going to do the reading aloud. I'd love for someone to volunteer and just have that person raise their hand when they know they're going to be the one reading aloud. Don't worry, you're not going to read aloud the whole class. You're going to just read aloud in your group, okay? So 30 seconds. I got 2 groups already chose. 3, 4, 5, 6. Last group, 7. Awesome. Wow, that was 10 seconds. Giving you guys a class point for that one. So, you're going to read your section aloud. You'll notice in the guided notes that I gave you that there is the 3rd section here says reading notes, take while classmate is reading your section aloud, use bullet points. So while, for this group, Jocelyn or Juan or Leo, while they're reading, the other members of the class are you're just gonna listen to what they're reading, you're gonna read along with him, and if a big idea from your section pops up, you're like, this seems really important, just write it down in the notes right there as a bullet point, okay? Try to get at least 3 of those. After that, we're gonna have a discussion, but I don't wanna get into that just yet, because I don't wanna overload us with directions. So our first thing is just, we're gonna take turns, we're gonna read our sections aloud, and while our classmates reading, we're gonna read along, and we're gonna take notes. So here's what we're gonna do. Section 1, I'm gonna assign to 2 different groups. That is California's Spanish culture. And let's just do it like this. We'll say section 1, which is the very first page, and we'll say section 1, which is the very first page. Now, if you guys just want everybody to turn the page to section 2, so everybody can see. Section 2 is War with Mexico. And let's have this group read War with Mexico. That's the whole page. And if you finish early, you can read that People in History, but you don't have to, okay? And let's have this group read War with Mexico. And if you finish early, you can read that second part, okay? The third group is going to read Polk's War Plan all the way through and finishing the Bear Flag Republic. All right? So we're going to have that be this group and this group. All right? Section 2. Now, we're going to have 2 groups that are both going to read the Bear Flag Republic. There's going to be a little overlap. That group back there, you're going to read Bear Flag Republic all the way through to the end. So you each have your sections assigned. I think for that reading and note-taking, and then discussion following the note-taking, 10 minutes? Is that even too long? Let's start with 8 minutes and see how it goes, because I think you guys can get this done in 8 minutes, all right? So 8 minutes, let's begin with that, and I'll be walking around and get started.
After Mexico refuses to The two nations also disagree about the Texas Mexico border. The United States insisted that the river on their former line. Mexico claimed that the border lay along the nation's river 150 miles
Native Americans worked the land in return for food and shelter. Rancheros, ranch owners, treated Native Americans almost like slaves. In the 1840s, more Americans reached California. John C. Furman, an army officer,
Something that sounded really important here.
Americans began to talk about adding California to the Union. They argued that the nation was
This is really important about Manifest Destiny and about expansion.
Shippers also hoped to build ports on the Pacific
Cindy, what do you think? Did they gain any territory in this, or was there any big important point about the war? They invaded northern Mexico, right? I think that was a bullet point right there. You got it, Gabby. So you just have to put that right there. So you just put a bullet point in your note taking, like, oh, they invaded northern Mexico. About 5 more minutes, class. If you finish your reading early, you can move to the second section where you have the discussion and figure out what 3 bullet points overall as a team do you think are the most important. So you guys come into the second part, and just as a group discussing, it's like share your 3 bullet points and then a summary of the 3 main ideas that you share with one another. Okay? Thanks so much. about 1 more minute, because I think most groups are finishing up, so about 1 more minute. Remember to try and focus your main bullet point ideas on what we're discussing today, manifest destiny. What about this shows the clear expansion into Mexican territory of the Americans? About 30 more seconds for that. Let's finish up. Oh man, just in time too. That's at our 8-minute mark in about 10 seconds. And if I could get everybody's eyes forward in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so if you just want to finish up that last bit you're writing down and put your pens down. This is going to be a little complicated instruction because we're going to do one of those jigsaw things where we get all mixed up. So just try to follow along as best you can. Now we've already discussed in our groups, and what we're going to do is we're going to share in color groups. So if you want to just make sure to notice in the top corner of your desk what color dot that you're sitting at. So everybody should be sitting at a specific color dot, and you remember those dots are up there by the numbers. We're going to get together, and here's the thing. Everyone who read a green has a green dot. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have a green dot. So all of the green dots are going to get together, and what you'll notice is you've all read different articles. Right? So you'll be able to come together and share your expertise on the one section that you read. Your hand down, maybe doesn't. You can share your expertise, and on the back, if everybody turns this paper over, is a note, is a section. So the person from section 1 is going to share first, and you're going to write down the ideas that they share. And then section 2, 3, and 4. And in that way, you'll get a whole picture of what was going on. All right? So this is what we're going to do. Some articles were read by 2 different people, right? That's okay because each of you can share together, and the power of 2 is better than the power of 1, right? So the 2 minds can say, oh, my group, we read section 1 and we felt this way, and then another person can say, oh, well, we read section 1, we saw the same things, or we also saw this. So it's okay if 2 of you read the same section. We're going to have to move chairs around a little bit, but when I say go, if we can do it in under a minute, we'll get another class point. But when I say go, I just want all the greens to gather around, let's say this table right here, all right? We'll have all the blacks gather around this table, all the reds gather around this table, and all of the blue? All of the blues gather around this table. All right? Go.